everybody.
Does everybody know what time it is? It's go time!
Radio is theatre of the mind.
When I started, I used to do Frank Spencer, of all people. You know, like,
Really?
oh, I didn't think I'd make it here tonight. You know.
My first game was on John Wall's fault. He's a killer, a brute, you know, from the old school, you know, back when football was football.
That's a whole nother topic.
Now, Ralph, I can rattle off a ton of them. There's a leprechaun. He tells me to burn things. I'm Idaho. When I grow up, I want to be a principal or a caterpillar.
Go Goodman. Go Goodman.
Go Goodman.
Hey man, this is Austin St. John. I played Jason, the original Red Ranger.
Hi, I'm Sharon Parsons. I played Hilary Banks on The Fresh Prince of Bel-Air.
Hi, I'm Russell Gilbert.
Hi, I'm Kypher Notes, stunt double to Jamie Alexander on NBC's Blind Spot.
Hi, I'm John Michael Howson.
Hi, I'm Tiffany Cherry, Australian sports broadcaster.
Yibba folks, this is Rex Hunt. I love all things fishing and football.
Hey, this is Nancy Cartwright. You might recognize me as, hi, I'm Bart Simpson. Who the hell are you?
I'm not asking you, I'm telling you. Listen to the Alain Go Goodman Show.
The Alain Go Goodman Show.
With Alain Goodman.
With Alain Goodman.
You're listening to Alain Goodman.
Because it's a good show.
That's right. Good afternoon and welcome to the Alain Go Goodman Show. We've got a great show for you today. We've got Dave Smith, the sports guide, who is on the line, who I'll get to in one moment. We've got a tribute to Melbourne's own Bruce Mansfield, and we've got a cool interview on the second half of the show as well. So let's drown out the intro music and kick straight into it, because we're going to have a really, really fun show. Welcome to the Alain Go Goodman Show for the 24th of April 2016. It's going to be a blast. Dave, can you hear me? Hello, Dave.
Yes.
Yes, he can hear me. Can you hear me, Dave?
Yeah, I can hear you. Yes, I can hear you.
Okay, let's make sure I can hear you. Speak again. Can you hear me?
Okay, can you hear me?
Yes, perfect.
I can hear you.
All right, perfect. How you going? Long time no speak.
Yeah, how have you been?
Yeah, good. I'm just going to get my questions here. I saved a bit of paper and just put them on my phone. It's been I probably haven't spoken to you in about a year, and it's been a huge year in America. I've got questions from sport, from the presidential race. There's been a couple of big deaths over the past few months, and we've got some other things as well. Yep. But we'll start off with sport, because you are known as the sports god. And we'll go back to about February, the Super Bowl. I tried watching a bit of the Super Bowl. I couldn't understand it, but what caught my attention was the halftime show. What did you think of the halftime show for Super Bowl 50?
I don't even remember who was in it. Who was the halftime? I know Bruno Mars, and who else was it?
Coldplay and Beyonce.
Oh yeah. Well, I never watched the halftime show, so I don't have much of an opinion about it, because I change the channel or go out and do something, because I usually don't watch that nonsense. I'm there to watch football. Right.
So what did you think of the game? I'm not going to have any idea what you're talking about here, but what did you think of the game?
Well, it was a great send-off to Peyton Manning. You know, it was his last game as an NFL player. He had a great career, and to go out like that with a Super Bowl win at 39 years old was fantastic. So, Peyton Manning was out a winner, and I think that's just a fantastic way to end a career.
And the guy on the other team that had a hissy fit in the press conference, I can't remember his name. Cam Newton, yeah. What do you think of him?
I think he's a little bit immature. You can understand, the press conference afterwards, he's upset, and he was upset he didn't play well and that they lost. But you got to be mature about it. You got to win with class, and you have to lose with class. But I was a lot more upset. His final fumble toward the end of the game, the ball was laying there right at his feet when the game was still up for grabs, and he started to dive, and then he thought better of it, and he didn't dive on the ball, and Denver recovered and ran the clock out. It was like he was a little bit, he was worried more about his own safety and getting hurt than he was about winning the game. That was the big issue I had with him.
Can you hear a dog in the background? Is that you or is that here?
Can you what? I'm sorry?
Can you hear a dog in the background? I'm trying to figure out if that's here or if that's near you.
Yeah, no, that That's the neighbor's dog here.
Right, okay. Because I can hear a dog in the headphones. Right, okay, no, that's fine. Now, something I'm very interested in getting your opinion on, because I know you're a Laker fan, and Kobe Bryant retired after a 20-year career. What are your memories of him? Did you ever get to interview him?
Oh yeah, several times. My memories of Kobe. He's one of the 10 greatest NBA players of all time, without question. His work ethic, his will to win, his conditioning, second to none. So absolutely a great career. What a way to go out with a 60-point game in his final game at the age of 37. So fantastic way for him to go out as well. Unfortunately, the team was horrendous this year, going 17-65, and it was an embarrassing way for him to go out at such a horrible team. But without question, I don't think he's as good as Michael Jordan. I don't have him in my top 5 of all time, but certainly in the top 10. It was a magnificent career.
When was the last time you interviewed him?
Oh, about a year ago, when he announced he was retiring, and I sat down with him for about 10 minutes in the locker room. And, he has a reputation of being standoffish and a little arrogant, but I've always had a good relationship with him. I think he's a really good guy, down to earth, and I've never had any problems with him. Very, very refreshingly honest, too.
Now, it's interesting. I heard a American broadcaster say this, and I can't remember who it was off the top of my head, but he said, Kobe was an amazing player, and he was great for the NBA, but he may not have been so good for the Lakers. He drove out Shaq, he drove out Dwight Howard, and he's retired after a 20-year career and left the Lakers with pretty much nothing except for a couple of draft picks who will take a while to kind of develop. How do you see the Lakers now that Kobe's gone, and how do you see that part of his career? Was he a bit of a control freak?
Most of the great ones are. He's a type A personality and a control freak. But first of all, I don't think he drove out Shaq. I think Shaq wanted out, and Shaq's time was up here in Los Angeles. And after Shaq was gone, Kobe won 2 more world championships without him as they rebuilt the franchise. So, and I think Shaq wound up exactly where he wanted to end up with Miami. I don't think Kobe ran him out at all. Dwight Howard, Dwight's a diva. Dwight's a guy who doesn't work as hard as he should, and Dwight's a guy who's got thin skin. And to me, he's a big crybaby, and he chafed under Kobe Bryant. He didn't like the enormous pressure. Kobe, he's a difficult guy to play with. He's demanding. He wants the best effort out of you. He yells at you in practice. He's on you all the time, and Dwight's not like that. He doesn't work as hard as he should, and he likes to goof around and joke around, and he's laughing in the locker room after games. So, Kobe's just not going to tolerate that. He's a very, very difficult guy to play with because he demands 100% effort all the time. And, Shaq was a guy who was never in the type of physical condition he needed to be either. He was overweight for most of his career, would come to camp out of shape, and that's just nothing drives Kobe Bryant crazier than that. And now, as far as the future goes, I think it's pretty good. I think Kobe's going to retire a couple of years ago, and that $50 million contract extension they gave him for 2 years just killed the franchise the last 2 years, and it was just ridiculous. It was the Kobe Bryant, retirement tour instead of trying to win the last couple of years. But they have 3 or 4 really good young players. They've got $60 million in cap space with some of the signed free agents, and they're going to get one of the top 3 picks in the draft. So I think they're much better off now without Kobe Bryant out there that he's finally gone.
And in comparison, you look at Kobe's obviously had an amazing career as you've gone through. He's been an MVP. I think he's won 5 championships, 15-time All-Star, and he's had many other awards. Played for the USA as well, and won a gold medal or 2. If you look at someone like Tim Duncan, when he retires, will he get as much fanfare as Kobe got?
Probably not, because that's not his style, and he's already said he doesn't want a retirement tour. He doesn't want anything like that. He's much more low-key and down to earth. And, I was having that argument on my show today with callers. Who's the greater player? Who would you have higher on the top 10 list? Me, I've got Duncan number 7 and Kobe number 8. I've got Duncan a tad ahead of him. They both have 5 world championships. They both have 20-year careers. They're both great players. It's hard to separate them on the court, but I think Duncan was a lot more unselfish. And, the last 3 or 4 years, Duncan's been playing for minimum salary for San Antonio. He gave up a lot of salary in order to sign more players and to help the franchise. And he also was willing to now be 3rd or 4th guy on the team and let a great player like Kawhi Leonard step up as the greatest player. And that's something Kobe would never do, relinquish control. So And for that reason, I think I would have Tim Duncan slightly ahead of Kobe.
And you could also throw in there like Dirk Nowitzki, who's also got a championship, and Kevin Garnett, who's also got a championship. Do you think they'll... Why is Kobe so interested in that Hollywood lifestyle, yet so many other players aren't?
I don't know how interested he is in the Hollywood lifestyle. We'll see now that he's retired, but he's a better player than Dirk Nowitzki and Kevin Garnett, certainly, and so is Tim Duncan. I think those two are a notch below guys like Kobe and Duncan. Those guys aren't top 10 all-time players.
So who's in your top 10? Do you have it off the top of your head?
Yeah, I've got, most people have Michael Jordan first. I have Magic Johnson first. To me, Magic Johnson's the greatest player I've ever seen. Now, I'm not being a little prejudiced being out here in L.A. and being a Lakers fan and watching him my entire career, so he's the greatest player I've ever seen. I've got Magic first. I've got Michael Jordan second. Wilt Chamberlain, the great Wilt Chamberlain third. Kareem fourth. Larry Bird fifth. Then Bill Russell, with 11 championships, the great Boston Celtics sixth. Then Duncan, then Kobe. I'm trying to remember the rest of them right now. Those are my top 8. So I think I got, boy, you put me on the spot here. Those are my top 8 right now. Akeem Olajuwon, number 9, and the great Rick Barry from the Golden State Warriors, 10. There's my top 10.
Right, yeah, there's only a couple of names I haven't heard of. I haven't seen most of them play, but I know most of them, so that's pretty good. No other. Who do you think out of the current players could, in the future, push into your top 10? Do you see LeBron or Durant pushing into your top 10?
Certainly LeBron James, yes, when he's retired. Although I think his 2-4 record in the finals will hurt him a little bit. And if he gets to the finals and loses again this year, that might hurt him a little bit. LeBron James will crack the top 10 easy. And if he wins another couple of championships, maybe crack that top 5 by the time he's done. And, Steph Curry's young at 27, 28 years old, but the way he's going right now, he'll win back-to-back MVP this year. And if the Warriors win the championship again, he is on the fast track for sure to top 10 status.
Now, NBA playoff predictions, I pretty much gave up on this season because, Phoenix are they can't even get a regular roster together. So I kind of gave up on the season. I've started watching the playoffs a little bit. Who are your NBA predictions and your roughies for the playoffs?
Well, I like a rematch this year between the Warriors and the Cavaliers in the finals. Of course, that is assuming Steph Curry is 100% because he turned his ankle in that first game, that win against the Houston Rockets in the playoffs here. Then he didn't play in Game 2 or Game 3, and the Warriors are up 2-1 right now, and he's going to play. But when you say that, the Warriors could have easily been up 3-0 if the umpires got the call right. Oh, absolutely, because James Harden, that was a straight arm. He threw like a forearm shiver, and Adelaide Guadalajara and got him off, and that should have been an offensive foul in the final seconds. You're 100% correct, and the Warriors should be up 3-0 right now. And if they were up 3-0, Steph Curry would not play tomorrow and would not play for the rest of the series because they'd have it wrapped up, and they'd hold him out until the next series started. But only up 2-1 now, I think he has to play tomorrow because they don't want to get to 2-2 and have it a best-of-3 series after that. So who do you think is a roughie? Do you think Atlanta could finally make it to the second round of the playoffs, or they're up 2-1 against Boston? Yeah, they made it to the Eastern Conference Finals last year and got swept 4 games to zip by Cleveland and LeBron. It's a tough one. I picked Atlanta in 7 in this Boston series. I would pick Boston if they had Avery Bradley, but he was one of the best defenders in the NBA, but he pulled a hamstring muscle and he's out for the series. So I think due to that injury, I'm going to go with Atlanta in 7 games.
And do you think OKC can finally... who do you think will be the bigger challenger to Golden State, OKC or San Antonio?
That's a good question. San Antonio certainly San Antonio can beat them. I think they're the only team in the league maybe that can because they're such a tremendous squad and 5-time world champions. Oklahoma City, they've got 2 of the 5 best players in the league, and Russell Westbrook and Kevin Durant, so that gives you an advantage right there. But if Steph Curry, and again, that ankle, if he's 100% healthy, I think San Antonio, maybe Cleveland, are the only teams that possibly have a chance to beat them. Oklahoma City, I don't think can beat them. And, the Clippers are playing Golden State in the next round, it looks like, if they both will improve. And if Steph's ankle isn't right, they're going to be in trouble for that series because the Clippers are a good team. And if it's a wounded Steph Curry, the Clippers can beat them too.
And it's interesting, I was watching a bit of the OKC-Dallas game this morning, and I was surprised, because I haven't watched much of the NBA all season. I'm surprised to see how much depth OKC now have with Dion Waiters coming off the bench.
Yeah, they're a lot deeper than they were last year, and they have a new coach, and Billy Donovan from the University of Florida. And for my taste, they still play too much individual one-on-one basketball with Westbrook and Durant. Every time down the floor, it's a clear out. One of those two guys goes one-on-one, and it's just they make it too difficult on themselves to get shots off. And I wish they would play more like the Warriors or the Spurs, where the offense is based on passing and cutting and not selfishness.
Now, well, there's a few Aussies in the finals. We've got Patty Mills at San Antonio, we've got Aaron Baines at Detroit, and we've got Dellavedova at Cleveland. Who do you think will be the lucky one out of those ones?
And Andrew Bogut, too, playing for the Warriors.
And Bogut, yeah, obviously Bogut.
I certainly think Bogut and Dellavedova will be in the finals, those two, and maybe Patty Mills. So I guarantee you there'll be at least one or two Australians in the NBA finals.
And
and you got a New Zealander in Steven Adams playing for Oklahoma City. He's their starting center.
Yeah, right. So New Zealand are finally getting a representative in the NBA, which is good. The season awards, who have you got for you? Can Russell Westbrook come anywhere near Steph Curry for the MVP?
No, Steph Curry will be runaway winner of the MVP. Russell Westbrook or LeBron will be second. So probably Russell Westbrook second, but this is going to be almost a unanimous vote for Steph Curry, who's been so great this year, even better than he was last year.
And the interesting thing was, I heard someone say yesterday or the day before that Steph Curry is currently number 4 on the most improved Player of the Year award, which is quite hard to believe.
I didn't know that.
I think I heard that a couple of days ago, yeah.
And that's funny, that guy who was the MVP last year and a world champion could also be the most improved. But you know what? It's not ridiculous because he is better than he was last year. There's no question about it. And another guy, Kawhi Leonard at San Antonio, he's underrated. He's a top 5 player. He's one of the great players in the NBA as well, and people don't talk about him enough either.
So who would you be? Who would be your defensive player and your 6th man?
Wow, that's a good question. Defensive player of the year, Kawhi Leonard in San Antonio. He can walk up and defend just about anybody. 6th man of the year. I haven't really thought about that one. Jamal Crawford won 6th man of the year with the Clippers, so I have to agree with that, and that's the 3rd time he's won it.
And another interesting thing coming out of the NBA is I'm not sure if you've heard about this. Ben Simmons is skipping the Olympics to make sure he's fit for the NBA draft. Do you think that's a good move?
No, I don't. I didn't know that he's skipping the Olympics, and I think that would be a good thing for him. What better way to prepare for the NBA draft than going up against the greatest players in the world in the Olympics?
And that's how Patty Mills and Dellavedova got noticed as well.
Yeah, I mean, to be on the world stage and to be playing for the movements in the Olympics, to me, that's a lot better than individual workouts. So I think that's a mistake that he's not playing. And he's by the way, dropped down to number 2 on almost all the NBA draft boards. He was number 1 all year long, and now Brandon Ingram from Duke now seems to be going first in the NBA draft and Ben Simmons second. So, yeah, I think it would behoove him to play for the national team and play in the Olympics.
Who do you think he'll go to? Do you think he'll go to the Lakers, and do you think he'll have an immediate impact?
It's hard to say. If the Lakers get the first pick, they'll probably go Ingram. If they get the second pick, they'll take Ben. But, you never know how those ping-pong balls are going to go. So if the Lakers don't pick in the top 3, if they don't get one of the top 3 picks, they'll pick those from the Philadelphia 76ers. Well, speaking of Australia, Brett Brown, the coach there, who coached the Boomers, so they get the Lakers' first pick if it's not in the top 3. So, interesting. I would imagine they'll go Ingram first if they get that. If they get the second pick, certainly it'll be Ben Simmons. If they get the 3rd pick, who knows? Because that one's up for grabs. That's not really so clear-cut. Oh, and by the way, do you consider Kyrie Irving an Australian? Do you take credit for him?
No. Well, he doesn't want to play for us, so I think you've got him.
because he was born in Australia. He lived there till he was 3, and I think he's making a mistake. He should have played for the Boomers because with Russell Westbrook and Steph Curry and so many great point guards, we don't really need him. I think he should have played for the Boomers because if you had him and Ben Simmons and Zoe Ingles and Dante Exum and all the rest, Dellavedova and Patty, that team's going to medal this year in Brazil.
Do you think we will get a medal anyway?
Without Simmons and without
Dante Exum is still injured, I think.
Yeah, I don't think so. I think if you had a full squad, yes. Right now, I don't think so.
So basketball. Well, first of all, what have you heard about Dante Exum? Is he going to be a force next season, or will he take a couple of seasons to get going?
I love his game. I thought he was coming along nicely with Utah. It was a shame that he blew his knee out and couldn't play this season. But I like his game a lot. He's really versatile. I think he's going to be an excellent NBA player.
Who do you think...
Fawn Maker, too, the high school senior out of Canada. How about him? Is he going to play for the Boomers this summer at the Olympics?
I'm not sure. I have a feeling when I was commentating, doing work experience commentating for the local league, not the NBL, but the Victorian League, I have a feeling I saw him playing for the Melbourne Tigers. I'm not 100% sure, but I have a feeling I have seen him play, but he's going to be a force. He's huge as well, like a Nathan Jawai kind of character.
And, Fawn Baker's challenging the NBA and trying to get into the draft this summer because the NBA has a rule. You have to be 19 years old and you have to be 1 year removed from high school before you can enter the draft. He's 19, and he got a 5th year of high school basketball this year. He graduated in 2015 from high school, but he's at a prep school in Canada, so he got 1 extra year there because he wanted to play with his younger brother on the same team. So he's challenging the NBA and saying, hey, I graduated in 2015. I am a year out of high school, but even though he played for his high school team this year, so the NBA is going to have to make a ruling on this and see if he's found a loophole because he wants to come into the draft this year, which could change a lot of draft order if that happens.
I didn't know he had a younger brother. That's exciting.
Yeah, he plays on the same team with him in Canada on that prep school team.
So who do you think will medal, off the top of your head, who do you think will medal at the Olympics in basketball?
Well, certainly we're the favorites, the United States, assuming all of our best players play. Certainly the clear-cut favorite. The last couple of Olympics, Spain has been outstanding. And remember, in 2008 in China and 2012 in London, that USA-Spain game for the gold medal went down to the last second, and it was really close, and either team could have won. That's how good Spain was. But I mean, they're getting a little old. The Gasol brothers are in their mid-30s now, and Rudy Fernandez and company, they're getting a little old. I think Spain probably won't be as much of a challenge this year for the United States in the Olympics. Serbia and Croatia are always good. Argentina, France.
Brazil?
Yeah, Brazil. France probably has, 15 players in the NBA now?
Really?
So I've never been able to figure out why France isn't better. They got Tony Parker and Jan Mahinmi and Nick Batum and
Boris Diaw.
And on and on. And what's that?
Boris Diaw.
Yeah, Boris Diaw. There's another one. They got a lot of good players, and for some reason they just can't get it together when it comes to international play.
So who do you think will get silver and bronze? Do you think? Well, Canada won't be up there for a little while still.
Yeah, that's another one. They've got Andrew Wiggins playing for them and some pretty good players. But, I got to go USA gold. That's a good question. I'll go Spain bronze. That is a very, very good question. I'm thinking about all the teams all over the world. I'll go Serbia or Croatia.
Even Germany or Russia? Their teams are getting a little bit old as well.
Yeah, they get Dirk Nowitzki and they have Dennis Schroeder who plays for Atlanta, but no, not them. Chris Kaman, this is funny. Chris Kaman played for Germany in their last Olympics, the NBA center. He's never been to Germany, and his parents have never been to Germany, and he played for the German national team.
How does that work?
Well, his grandparents were German, so Germany said that, and the German Federation said that's close enough, you can play if your grandparents were from here.
So do you take any other... You're a sports broadcaster and a sports god, going by your nickname. Do you take any other interest in the Olympics apart from the basketball?
Oh, absolutely. I love the track and field, certainly, and the basketball and the boxing, which I watch more than anything else.
And the swimming, the USA always has a good team. Do you follow the swimming much?
Not too much. I know USA and Australia over the years has always been excellent at swimming too. That was our big rival. So, but Michael Phelps, he retired after 2012, but he's back. He's going to go down to Rio and try to add to the, what does he have, 11 golds now? Something ridiculous. So he's going to try to add to that total in Rio.
Okay, we've got to take a quick break, and we'll come back right after this, go into a bit of the presidential race, which is kind of interesting, it's kind of a bit crazy at the moment, and then there's a few other things that I have on my list as well. So we'll be back shortly on the Alain Go Goodman Show, talking to Dave Smith, the sports god, live from LA. Welcome back to the Alain Go Goodman Show with Dave Smith on the line. He's always good value for the show. This is the third time you've been on, and you're one of the great friends of the show, so thank you for always being approachable, Mr. Dave.
Oh, man, you need to get a full-time gig somewhere down under doing full-time sports talk. So I like the way you interview. You do a great job.
Yeah, I'm getting there. I'm only 25, so I have a lot of time left. So just having fun with it.
Yeah, you're a kid.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. You don't get on air as a talkback host here until you're at least 40. It's true.
Well, you'll break the trend.
Yeah, that'll happen. So, let's move on to, we've talked about the Olympics, we've talked about all the sport, let's move on to the presidential race. It's getting more and more likely. See, I don't quite understand how this works. There's the Republican Party and the Democratic Party, and they all promote themselves around the country, and then at the end of when they've done all 50 states, do the people vote for a leader of each party and then vote for the overall president?
Yeah, well, what happens is the Republicans and the Democrats have primaries. They all have individual votes in all 50 states, and then the winners of all, then they go to the convention, the Republican and the Democratic convention, and they nominate they officially nominate their nominee in July, and then in November, it's the Republican against the Democrat in the general election for the presidency.
So that's a very long process for people to be interested in politics.
Absolutely, and it's dishonest and it's corrupt, and both parties are up to their shenanigans. The Republican Party is trying to steal the nomination away from Donald Trump by hook or by crook, and the Democrats have rigged their primary so Hillary Clinton can win and Bernie Sanders can't win. So it's a disgrace the way this is. It's corrupt to the core the way we do these elections here.
So if it's not a law that everyone has to vote, why are there so many people interested in politics this year, it seems, in America?
Yeah, I've never seen anything like this. If it's Donald Trump against Hillary Clinton, Elaine, in November, this is going to be so much fun. I mean, this is great for talk show hosts. It's even great for sports talk show hosts because we can get into this thing. This is going to be wild. I mean, they can put the debates between Donald and Hillary on pay-per-view. That's how I've never seen anything like the excitement generated here for Donald Trump. I mean, there's millions and millions of people coming out who've never voted before. It's because he's an outsider. He's spending his own money campaigning. He doesn't take any money from lobbyists or donors or big corporations. And, when you take all the other politicians take money from big donors and lobbyists and pharmaceutical companies, and then they owe them something once they get into office, and they've got to do them favors. And he doesn't do any. He's self-financing because he's worth $10 million. So he's telling the big donors in the Republican Party to go screw themselves, and I'm playing by my own rules, and I'm going to fix things, and I don't need you. Because normally when you're a candidate, you need party money, and you need party television ads, and you've got to play ball with these guys. He's telling them to basically bleep off. Screw you. I've got my own money, and people are loving this. They're loving this outsider cowboy rebel angle, and maybe somebody can come in here and make some changes and isn't a party company guy.
I think Jerry Springer needs to host a debate.
Yeah, that'd be a heck of a good idea.
So, was there this much hype when Obama got voted in?
No, because, it was Obama against John McCain, who's a spineless milquetoast, a collaborator, a guy who's a party guy, and then Mitt Romney, who's another lying weasel, and neither one of them put up a fight against Obama because, number one, they don't have any spine, and number two, unfortunately, it's hard to say this, that anybody who really went after Obama hard was going to be called a racist here in America and just be, scrutinized and under the fire. And I don't think Donald Trump worries about any of that kind of stuff, which is another reason people like him. Now when he hasn't really gone after Hillary yet because Trump doesn't have the nomination. He's been going after his Republican counterparts. But, when he starts going after Hillary hard, he's going to get called a sexist and anti-women and a bigot. And so, but I don't think he cares. He's just going to try to win the election and tell the truth.
What does a Trump America look like to you? I mean, what does a Trump America look like to you compared to a Hillary Clinton led America, which will probably be the two leaders of each party? What's the difference between them for you? How do you see each leadership?
Well, Hillary Clinton is a Wall Street, phony baloney, corporate, taking big donors and controlled by Wall Street and the big donors. And it'll just be more of the same problems we've had for the last 30 years here if she wins. And nothing will change. And if Donald Trump wins, if he does what he says he's going to do, now that'll be the big question about how honest he's being here. But, finally we're going to get some control of that southern border where, we just have people pouring across the border illegally for the past 20 years. Millions and millions of people taking jobs away from Americans, and the crime rates, and it's just totally out of control, and nobody does anything about it. And then, the Middle Eastern terrorism is a real threat because, they're going to Mexico first and then just walking over the border because they know it's an easy way in, and God knows what they're bringing with them. So hopefully, if it's a Trump victory, he puts a stop to illegal immigration, and he really puts the fear of God, into those terrorists in the Middle East, and will hit them hard, and finally do something to put a scare into them and put a stop to all this. Hopefully, so we'll see.
Why? Donald Trump's always been like a businessman and a TV media person. Why does he want to become president? Is it simply for his ego?
Maybe that could be a little of it, but I also think he loves his country. And, and being close to 70 years old, he's seen all the changes here. And he doesn't like what he sees here. He doesn't like, all of the jobs we have are going overseas. And there's been, Alain, so many huge corporations in America have pulled up stakes and moved to Mexico or to China or to South America and, put their plants down there, which has cost Americans, hundreds of thousands of jobs, and because it's a lot cheaper to do business overseas and put a plant down there, and then they sell the products back here in America. So, and one of the basic tenets of his presidency is he's just not going to allow that. And he said the other day, the Ford Motor Company is opening a new plant in Mexico, and they're losing about 30,000 jobs here in America. And he said, there is no way I'm going to allow that to happen. He said, I will get on the telephone with the president of Ford and say, you keep your plant here in America and you employ Americans here. If you move that plant to Mexico, that's fine. You can do it. But every car you ship over here to sell in America, I'm going to put a 35% tax on it on top of what the regular price is. So, we love that in America when we hear that. I think if the president of Ford hears that, he won't move the plant down to Mexico and keep the jobs here.
So the way you're talking about Trump, you seem to think that if he becomes president, it could be good for America. But a lot of people that I've talked to seem to think there could be a world war if he becomes president. Do you see that happening?
I don't think so. I think I'm a big peace through strength guy, and I think I think if the world knows he means business and that we're not going to put up with this. I mean, we've been so weak and so spineless and so gutless for so long when it comes to Middle Eastern terrorism and open borders. And I think we've been dying for somebody with some strength and some backbone here to straighten things out and get things right. So, I think we're a lot more in danger of a world war if we have a weak president than if we have a strong one.
So who do you think? Do you think Donald Trump in November will be president?
I do, absolutely. I think he'll beat Hillary in a landslide, just to be honest with you. But he has to get the nomination first. And now the problem is the Republican Party despises Donald Trump, and they're trying to stop him, and they're trying to steal the election away from him. And, one thing how it works in the convention, for each state that you win, you get a certain amount of delegates. That's how it works. And you have to get to 1,237 delegates at the convention to get the nomination. Now, if you go to the convention and you don't have that 1,237, if you're slightly under, then they take a vote, and it's called a brokered convention. Then they go to a vote, and a second vote, and a third vote. And then if it's a brokered convention and nobody gets to 1,237, the party can nominate anyone they want. Even somebody who hasn't been running in the primaries, they can nominate and vote him in as a nominee. So that's one way they could steal the nomination away from him. But, if they pull something like that, Elaine, I think people are going to be so furious here in America. Whoever they nominate ahead of Trump, if they try to steal this from him, people are going to stay home and not vote or vote for Hillary or do anything they can to stop the Republicans. So they're going in dangerous waters if they try to pull this off.
You know, Dave, for a sports broadcaster, you do have a vast knowledge of politics.
Yeah, I do. I actually like that a lot more than I do sports. I'd much rather do a political general interest show than sports, but that's the only offers I've gotten over the years of sports.
Yeah, you've had a 20-year career in sports, so I don't think you should say that too loudly.
Well, we'll see.
Now, if we move into entertainment a little bit, over the last few months we've lost Prince and David Bowie. Were you a fan of either of them?
Yeah. Not too much. I saw Prince in concert twice.
I'd call that a fan.
In the 80s. Well, in the 80s, I went to see the Rolling Stones at the Los Angeles Coliseum. That seats 100,000 people. The Rolling Stones headlined the show. And then there was a couple of other acts. And Prince, nobody had ever heard of before. This was before he became a star. And he was the opening act. And he came out, and this is hard to believe, Elaine, but he got booed off the stage. People were throwing shoes at him and mooing. And they got about 2 songs out, and then they ran off the stage to protect their lives. And I said to myself, well, that's the last we'll ever hear of that guy. It shows you how right I was. And then later on, a friend of mine had some tickets to a Prince concert, and I went and saw it. And I will say, I wasn't a big fan of his music, but he's one of the most talented musicians I've ever seen. I'm a guitar player, and I played in the band for years. He's one of the best guitar players I have ever seen in my life. He is amazing. He's Jimi Hendrix-like, the way he can play that thing. He's one of the most talented guys I've ever seen. And
David Bowie, do you have much memory of him?
Yeah, I was a fan of his. I like his music okay. He's not one of my favorites, but he was an innovator, and he made some really good music as well.
And the other big death that has rocked Hollywood that has stood out to me is comedian Gary Shandling. I didn't know much about him, but he's someone that a lot of comedians looked up to, and he was a lot of... every comedian started off watching the Larry Sanders Show. Did you ever watch that show?
Yeah, there was very funny. Gary Shandling was a very funny guy and a good comedian. I was a fan of his, absolutely. And, Glenn Frey from the Eagles died as well, who I was a big fan of. Great, and Lemmy from Motorhead. So we lost a lot of good people this year.
Did you ever get to interview any of them?
No, unfortunately, I was actually, the way it sounds arrogant. I was in a movie with Glenn Frey. That's what I tell people. He was one of the stars, and I was an extra in the background. But I tell people I was in a movie with him, like I was really important. But I got to meet him once. I was an extra, and he was, we were all standing around doing breaks from the shooting, and we talked to him a little bit. He's a really nice guy.
Now, are you a fan of AC/DC? They've been in the news a little bit. Axl Rose from Guns N' Roses. What do you think of him headlining AC/DC for the final leg of their tour, and maybe even for another album if they're interested in it?
First of all, I think the treatment of Brian Johnson was disgraceful, who's been with AC/DC for a long time. And to put out a prepared written statement saying, we thank him and wish him well with his further endeavors, that's a real cold-hearted way to say goodbye to somebody. I thought he deserved better than that. And Roger Daltrey came out today and was just really critical of the way Brian Johnson was treated. And he said putting Axl in there is like a karaoke tour. You can't go to a bar and listening to karaoke. But I love Axl. Guns N' Roses is one of my favorite bands. I don't know. It just doesn't seem like a good fit. I don't know. What do you think?
I don't know. I haven't listened to a lot of Guns N' Roses, but when you look at Bon Scott and then you look at Brian Johnson's probably a little bit more heavy rock. I'm not sure what kind of... Guns N' Roses seem like more classic rock rather than heavy rock, which is the road AC/DC's gone down since they lost Bon Scott and got Brian Johnson. I'm not sure. They seem to be a little bit heavier, not quite Ozzy Osbourne heavy, but still a bit heavier than Bon Scott was.
And you've got to remember too, when you hire Axl and he's part of the show here, he's not mentally stable. I love him as a singer, but he's been on meds and he's going to be on meds.
Yeah, but who isn't on meds in Hollywood?
Just about everybody. I remember Axl used to live on the Sunset Strip in a high-rise apartment here in L.A., right back when Guns N' Roses were hot and they were the #1 band in the world, late 80s, early 90s. And he would lose his temper or not take his meds or something, and he'd start taking his furniture and throwing it out the window, like in his high-rise. And people down on the street, he'd be hitting the roofs of cars, and his furniture and his utensils and every chairs would just come raining down on the Sunset Boulevard whenever he got upset about something. He's a psycho, this guy.
Did you ever get one of his free couches, Dave?
I didn't. Unfortunately, I was never down there.
Oh.
But he's a great singer. I mean, I love Guns N' Roses music, but he's not mentally stable. So that's one thing I think AC/DC has to concern themselves with.
Have you seen AC/DC perform live before? I saw them earlier this year, and I loved it in Melbourne.
I saw him with Bon Scott back in the day.
Oh, really?
And, yeah, absolutely. Yeah, back in the day, and wow. So right when that You Shook Me song came out, I saw him like about 30 years ago.
Did they have Long Way to the Top?
Did they have? I'm sorry?
Did they have Long Way to the Top then, or was that before they sung Long Way to the Top?
I think, I'm trying to remember. That was a long time ago. I'm not sure, but they were fantastic in concert, without doubt. They're one of the best bands I've ever seen live. Legends. I mean, there's one of the great rock bands of all time.
And it seems like a lot of bands do this. Like, they've only got one original band member left. Do you think bands should retire, or do you think they should try and keep their longevity by just employing new people and keeping the band going even though there's no one or none originals left?
I guess it depends on how much money you have. Trying to keep this thing going. I know somebody offered, I think it was Richard Branson from... what's that airline he owns?
Virgin.
Yeah, Virgin Airlines. He's trying to put a Led Zeppelin reunion tour together, and they're going to make like $40 or $50 million each, everybody in that band. And I know John Paul Jones, the bassist, is hurting for money, and I think Jimmy Page needs the money as well. But Robert Plant keeps saying no, and the other band members are furious with him. They said, this is $40 or $50 million. We need it. You're being selfish, and he keeps saying no. He won't do it. So I think it depends on how much money you have. And you know what's funny? Kind of about 10 years ago, I'm driving down the street, and I'm going past a nightclub in Hollywood, and it says Guns N' Roses tonight. I said, what? Because they'd been broken up for years. So I pulled over, and I went to the box, and I said, Guns N' Roses, what is this? And they listed the band to me. It's like one guy who played drums on one album, and he's gotten some guys together nobody'd ever heard of, and he's calling himself Guns N' Roses. So you never know what you're getting.
How much were tickets?
Oh, they're like $25-$30.
All right, there you go.
And I said, he can use the name Guns N' Roses when he played on one album? And I guess so. That's what they're calling themselves.
Free advertising. Now, have you heard much about this Johnny Depp Amber Heard apology to the Gold Coast and to Australia?
No, I don't know anything about that. What was that about?
So Johnny Depp came here to shoot Pirates of the Caribbean last year, and him and his wife Amber Heard came, or partner Amber Heard came, and they brought their two dogs on their private jet without going through customs and without going through quarantine. They got discovered, and the dogs got sent straight home, and now Johnny Depp and Amber Heard came back for their hearing, and they've filmed this 30-40 second apology, which is completely staged, and Johnny Depp is just looks so annoyed with it. Amber Heard just reads the script, and it's getting millions and millions of hits on YouTube, and it's a great marketing deal, but you can tell it's completely staged and scripted. And I think you should look it up, Dave.
Yeah, I'm going to. And he needs a hit. Boy, how many bombs has he had in a row? This last 4 or 5 movies.
Really?
He needs a hit. Yeah.
Right. So he's correct. Well, he's still a big draw card, I reckon.
Oh, yeah. But he needs a hit. I mean, he said, what was it? Dark Shadows was a bomb. The Lone Ranger was a bomb. He needs a hit.
Pirates of the Caribbean always a safe bet?
Well, that's can't miss. That's going to make a lot of money. You know, I actually met Prince once. I forgot about this. Well, not actually met him, but I was at the Super Bowl in Miami. This is when he played the Super Bowl halftime. So what was that? About 10 years ago, and I was on Radio Row doing my show that week from the Super Bowl, and I had to pee like crazy. It was a commercial break, so I run over there to the bathroom at the convention center, and there's 2 big giant bodyguards with their arms folded standing in front of the bathroom door. And I said, I got to pee. They said, nobody gets in. And they gave me a look like, don't try it. So I was sitting there bouncing from foot to foot, and and I'm about to go in my pants. It's so bad. So finally, the door opens, and out comes Prince. And he's in there, and he looks at me and says, "Hey, sorry, man." And then he kept walking. So
you talked to Prince.
I guess he doesn't like anybody in the bathroom with him, evidently.
Well, you can always say now you've been in a movie with, what was it, Glenn Fry, and you've been apologised to by Prince.
That's right, yeah. I can claim that now.
Yeah, the day Prince apologised to me, that can be the name of your book, Dave.
Absolutely. The day Prince apologized, yeah, sorry, man, that's 3 words. Now he's my good buddy. Yep, long-time friends. Now, before we let you go, how is your show going? You have a show every Sunday evening in LA? Well, I get my hours are now, there's got new hours. I'm on 3 to 6 Saturdays, Pacific Coast time. And then Sundays, I'm now on 9 in the morning till noon Pacific Coast time. So I'm not doing the evening show anymore. They moved me up to 9 a.m. to noon Pacific, which is noon to 3 Eastern time on Sundays.
Okay, so I'll have to convert that to Australian time. Have you still got the same format?
Yeah, same format, and having a lot of fun, and, and I get away from sports as much as I can without getting in too much trouble with the bosses. So, to me, it's talking about sports for 3 hours is a bore. So I like to do some comedy and talk about some politics and have some fun. But a lot of times the bosses don't like that. They want to stick to sports. So I push it as far as I can. Now,
I'm a big fan of this segment, the man card violation. What have been some of your latest man card violations?
Well, I think Russell Westbrook's getting one today for that outfit he wore going into the arena.
Which outfit? He's got one of many.
No, it was white capri pants like a girl would wear, like a skin-tight T-shirt and a big floppy hat. It was ridiculous. So, yeah, certainly he's going to get one.
Yeah, who else has made your list in the past few weeks?
Well, my producer, Mike Live, who produces my Sunday night show, last week I gave him one because during a break I went to the bathroom, and then I came out and I caught him coming out of the ladies' room. So he was doing his business in the girls' bathroom. And
well, he might think you're Prince. You can't be in the same bathroom together.
Yeah. I said, "What the hell are you doing?" He said, "Oh, it's cleaner in here." I said, "I don't care how clean it is. It's the ladies' room. Get out of there."
Are there a lot of ladies at the radio station?
No, there's none there that time of night. So I guess he thinks it's okay to use the women's restroom. But if I see him coming out, then he gets a man card violation on the air. So he's got to be careful.
Yeah, and what else? Are there any others that stick out to you?
Who else got one lately? God, I can't. I'm trying to think off the top of my head. I give about 2 or 3 every week. I can't. Yeah, and by the way, I've only given out 2 revocations in history. There's man card violations. Then there's a revocation which is permanently taken away. So Kobe Bryant and Doug Christie are the only 2 to get permanent revocations. So
what did they do?
Well, Doug Christie was a former NBA player, and this is a guy I've never seen anybody so whipped in my life by his wife. I mean, his wife traveled on every road trip with him. She'd followed the team bus in her own car while they were going back and forth to the arena, and she had him on the cell phone the entire time. She sat up in the stands, and they gave each other hand gestures the entire game, and then they renewed their marriage vows once a year, every year. So he got a revocation, and then Kobe, remember when Kobe got caught cheating on his wife Vanessa in Colorado when he was up on rape charges to get dropped, and remember that press conference where he sat up there with his wife for an hour and cried and groveled and begged for forgiveness? Oh my God, that was unforgivable. That behavior.
An NBA player cried, Kobe Bryant crying.
Well, if you get caught cheating and you're going to lose a lot of money, yeah, behind closed doors and in private, yes, we're going to cry and beg and get on our knees and beg for forgiveness. Please take me back. But my God, out in public in front of hundreds of millions, no way. Having his wife sitting next to him, that's not happening.
Now, you're on Twitter at Dave Sports God. Have you looked into Facebook or Instagram yet?
I've never been on either one. I think it's probably time that I should. I'm kind of old-fashioned that way.
I'm sure you've got a lot of cool photos from your career with cool athletes and actors and politicians that you could upload to Instagram. I'd follow you.
Yeah, so I should do that. That's a good idea.
Do you have a whole photo album of people you've met over the years?
I do, absolutely. And I would say one time Shaq got mad at me and snuck up on me from behind and lifted me up in the air over his head. So I wish I had a photo of that one.
Oh, that would have been scary. You should have had a parachute when you came back down.
I was like a little girl kicking my feet in the air, and he was holding me up, and everybody was laughing. It was really funny.
That would have been brilliant. Dave, you've run through my questions. Thank you for coming on the show again. I don't want to wait another year to get you back on, so as soon as we have some more things to talk about, I'll get you back on. And have a great night. Have a great night.
Too.
Thank you very much for coming on the show, and good luck for your show.
Thank you. You too.
Bye.